right, it's 6:05 right now. Tornado warning has just been issued for Pinellas County and parts of Hillsborough County. Radar shows a possible tornado near Tampa International Airport. And we'll zoom in on this right now, and you can see the area flashing is under the tornado warning, and the other area flashing in orange is a severe thunderstorm warning. So we've got two warnings that have just been issued for parts of our area, Pinellas County and also for Hillsborough County. Severe thunderstorm warning flashing in the yellow and the orange, and a tornado warning right in here flashing in the red. So most of the tornado warning area is not into the storms, but the tornado or possible tornado is near West Park or near TIA, moving northwest at around 20 miles an hour. So those areas are under tornado warning. We're seeing impressive rotation in the area around West Chase and Town and Country. So the tornado warning is posted for this area of Pinellas and northwest portions of Hillsborough County. And if we take that time of that, it will be very near the airport. It's moving northwest at 25 miles an hour. And so the possible tornado would be near Town and Country, Citrus Park Mall, 10 minutes there, West Chase 11 minutes, Oldsmar 15 minutes, and the Eagles and back over towards Brooker Creek Preserve in about 27 minutes if it holds on that course. Again, we're getting radar indications of a possible tornado here near the airport, and this is the airport right here. Rocky Point area, and the tornado in this area, possible tornado warning in effect for these areas. And of course, this is lifting up across parts of northwest Hillsborough County. So those are the areas now under a tornado warning. So you want to take some tornado precautions in those areas. We haven't had any reports of any confirmation, but there's certainly some strong thunderstorms going on, and these extend back across parts of Pinellas County, around the Clearwater area, back into the area almost down to Gandy and in the High Point area. Very heavy thunderstorms here, and a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for this area from Pinellas County back across Tampa Bay, where these thunderstorms are possibly producing some high winds. So a couple of warnings in effect right now, and we will stay here on the air with you. These warnings are until 6:45, and we will not leave you until these warnings are either canceled or expired. I want to let you know what's going on minute by minute with this. So as we run the animation, these storms have come together right on top of Tampa Bay, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock hour, and a number of boundaries came together, and this storm has really flared up across the area near the airport, and that's the thunderstorm that has the tornado circulation in it right in here. So if you're in the West Chase area, that will be pretty close to you. Town and Country, that could come pretty close to you as well, with the possible tornado near the airport moving off to the northwest at around probably around 15 to 25 miles per hour. We also have heavy rain occurring here in parts of central Pinellas County, and so we could get into an issue here where we could have some street flooding. And you can see some of our cameras here showing very, very heavy rain across parts of the area. This is in northern parts of Pinellas County. We've got some very heavy rain going on in here, and we also have frequent lightning with some of these storms going on. So once again, there's a tornado warning in effect for parts of northwest Hillsborough County, extreme northeast Pinellas County, right up in here. That's near the East Lake area, back up towards Lake Tarpon, and that is the area that we're monitoring for high winds or the possibility that we could have a tornado developing in there. And then a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for a huge part of the rest of Pinellas and Hillsborough counties, with these thunderstorms marching in, and they're occurring in areas that have already seen some very heavy rainfall recently. So because of that, I would expect the street flooding may end up being our biggest problem, and not necessarily the tornado potential. But anytime we do see these boundaries come together and we start to see some circulation, then we begin to wonder about the possibility of a quick spin-up tornado. So you folks around West Chase, Town and Country, want to be on the lookout for that possibility here in the next few minutes across parts of Hillsborough County especially, and across parts of the area northwest Hillsborough County, where we do have that possible tornado right now. So we're keeping an eye out for that. That's why a tornado warning is posted for these areas. Now, let's look in a little bit closer, and you can see with our live radar with Klystron 9 some of the strongest activity lifting up across Safety Harbor, through Clearwater and back towards the Carrollwood area. That activity is pretty strong. through Safety Harbor right now. It looks like some of the strongest, and then really some very difficult driving here along the Courtney Campbell and back down towards the Howard Franklin Bridge. Let's check it out here on some of the cameras. This is F.1, this is MLK and I-275. Look at that rain coming down, just torrential downpours across parts of the metro area right now. And so we're just seeing a lot of rain. If there was a tornado in that, you probably couldn't see it because we're just seeing so much rain, and it looks like that if there is a tornado embedded in this, it's probably embedded in that rain right in this area around the Rocky Point area and then back out towards Citrus Park. That would be the area we're most concerned about. This was the possible location of that tornado near the airport, and that would be affecting Town and Country, West Chase, Carrollwood, that area, if it's still there. A lot of times in Florida, these tornadoes come down pretty quickly and then they're gone, or they might even be just some high winds. So here you see that storm passing by the airport now. If you're from the airport, Rocky Point, and back towards downtown, there's no risk of severe weather with this anymore. Even back up towards Carrollwood, the risk of severe weather, I think, would be on the leading edge of this, and that would be coming through the Rocky Point area and then lifting up across Oldsmar. So we're going to stay on the air with you and watch this while the entire time of the tornado warning for parts of Hillsborough County and parts of Pinellas County, and we'll let you know if there's any confirmations of any touchdowns. Right now we don't have that, and even if there were, it would be that kind of situation where it would be very difficult to see a tornado in this because there's just so much very heavy tropical rain going on across these areas. Pinellas County, severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for most of central and northern Pinellas counties right now through central Pinellas and then back down towards St. Petersburg. Really strong thunderstorms in progress in these areas, and they're just lifting right across this metro area that's prone to street flooding and urban flooding and that sort of thing. And so you can see really rough rain going on here across parts of Pinellas County and also parts of Hillsborough County. And look at this rain coming in north parts of St. Petersburg, just torrential downpours in progress. We haven't had any more reports of any tornadoes, any confirmation, just a radar indication about 10 or 15 minutes ago of a possible tornado. And now we're still seeing a possible tornado located near West Chase. So if that area around the West Chase area, Carrollwood, you want to be on the lookout for high winds. Move to the center of your house, away from windows and those areas, because that would be the area most vulnerable if there is a tornado in this. So it would be right in here, very close to West Chase, right in this area that's seeing all the lightning right now. And there you see the polygon flashing where the tornado warning is, and this is the area where there might be some rotation, very close to the West Chase area. That's just to the northwest of Tampa International Airport. So here's the airport, and here's the area where we're seeing some enhancement in the wind field, and there could be a possible tornado or possible even some straight line winds going on, in some of that going on very close to this area. And I tell you what, Brian's driving the radar there. If we can go in here and get some of these streets, Brian. I know this is the Veterans and turns on up as you head up towards the Citrus Park area.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is Waters right in here. And so these areas will be the ones that we would be most concerned about. I would think around Sheldon Road to Waters really will be the area we're most concerned about.
Yeah, Mike, what I've been doing here in the background is I've been looking at velocity mode, which is what you were just explaining to our viewers. What it appears to me is that this came from just north of TIA. I'm going to go back in time a little bit. There it was right there. And Mike, that's a much better signature right there. Why don't you poke back out there and explain what we're looking at there?
Yeah, that is right in here.
Yep.
A short time ago. That was when the warning first came out, north of TIA. And then just go ahead and advance that, Brian.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go advance it in time, and you can see what happens. Basically shifts directly to the northwest. There is still a pretty good signature right there.
Yep. And if not, there's probably some high wind in that, because we're seeing that really high wind signature in there. So that's why the tornado warning is up for West Chase, Citrus Park, even over towards Oldsmar. This has got some high wind right on the leading edge of it. And let's check it out here just on the regular reflectivity. We're looking back into Pinellas County, Safety Harbor, rough weather going on back to Carrollwood. That's the area we're monitoring, and then back into Clearwater. And look at this rain that's coming down. This is I-275 at MLK, and we've got some just torrential downpours. Folks are even pulling off the road. That can be sometimes just as dangerous as keeping going. Folks are definitely having to deal with very high, very heavy rainfall rates with these thunderstorms across parts of the area. And the wind velocity that we're looking at with the possible tornado in here is occurring very close to the area around Tampa International Airport right now. And so let's look at that over here. And that would be, if you're in downtown, we're not concerned at all about that. But if you're back to the northwest of downtown, around the airport, and then back over towards Oldsmar, that's where we're the most concerned about right now with the possibility of a tornado. And we're still seeing some rotation going on in that, and that is very close to, let me get this over here, and that is still going on in there. It is very close to the area around West Chase, right in there. There's that circulation south of Citrus Park.
Mike, I've got it up in 3D. Why don't you punch that up real quick? Got a pretty good signature here in 3D. What I'm looking at here is from the west, so Clearwater here in the foreground, looking back to the east into the belly of the storm. And you can see a lowering in the base of the clouds right there. And that would be appearing where, if there is a tornado, it would be in there. It would be rain wrap, folks. This is not like what we've seen the past 3 or 4 weeks where we've had great water spout views, great funnel cloud views. It wouldn't be anything like that. Instead, what it would be is it would be totally rain wrapped. You would not be able to see this. So West Chase northwestward. I would even say, Mike, East Lake, Woodlands, East Lake area. Get ready because it's moving very quickly.
That's what I'm seeing here too, Brian. That would be in that very same area right in here that you were just talking about, and that's going to be lifting up towards the Pinellas County coast. So that's where we're seeing the possibility in there of tornado circulation, and that tornado warning continues. And it's a highly populated area, so it doesn't take much to get some high winds in there as well. And there you see the warnings that are in effect right now, including the tornado warning flashing in red, and in yellow you're seeing the severe thunderstorm warning that's posted for a good part of Pinellas County, central Pinellas County, and back into Tampa Bay and back into Hillsborough County. So to reiterate, 6:17 right now, tornado warning was issued, and that went out at 6:04. And the radar indication of the tornado was pretty strong. It was right over the airport, and now it has lifted back into this area around West Chase. And so that's the area that we're monitoring, kind of on the leading edge of the cell. A couple of boundaries came together, can spin up very quickly, but this is certainly a strong, even a severe thunderstorm in parts of Pinellas County, central Pinellas, and then back into Hillsborough County. And then this area in red, the area really hasn't changed very much right through here. And that is the area under the tornado warning and the possible tornado located right in this area right now. And that is lifting in across northwest parts of Hillsborough County. So that would be taking it at about 20 miles an hour, and it would be affecting the Citrus Park Mall area, Citrus Park right now, West Chase, the Eagles, and back into East Lake in about 20 minutes or so, if it holds together that long. A lot of the time here in Florida, tornadoes do not last that long, but we certainly have a severe thunderstorm in progress here, and we certainly have some very heavy rain going on in parts of the area. The FDOT camera will verify that, and we're seeing some extreme rainfall rates going on with this thunderstorm. So we want to keep it here on Klystron 9. We are not going anywhere. We will stay with you as long as this tornado warning is in effect. And there you see the area that we're monitoring, right over Pinellas County, right over Hillsborough County, and the possible tornado located not too far, actually, Brian, from the Oldsmar area. What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, Mike, what we're looking at is the fact that I've gone back in time and I've tried to get a good handle on where the storm would be moving towards. If you notice, there's this bullseye right here going about 8-9 minutes ago around Town and Country and West Park moving northwestward. If we go forward in time, then you'll notice almost like a little green dot right in the middle surrounded by red. Usually what that will indicate is some rotation within the clouds. It's hard to tell if this is rotating down to the ground, but there was definitely rotation going about 10 to 15 minutes ago. And then what I've noticed is as it moves northwestward, it's really racing off to the northwest. And this is what Mike was just saying. It's moving so fast that it's actually moving towards Pinellas County now. So technically the northwestern fringe of this warning, the storm is moving so quick, I would say the East Lake area now is more of a threat zone than it is back down here towards West Chase and Town and Country. It's moving so quickly, and I'm not seeing as tight of a circulation as what I was about 10 to 15 minutes ago. So it's not that the threat is over, it's definitely not, but the good news here is that I'm not seeing as tight of a circulation, which can usually mean that maybe it's lifting up farther away from the ground. That would usually be good news. We're just getting in some information right now. Yeah, still strong confirmation of rotation still, and pretty much the same thing that we're saying, which is if there's anything out there, it's rain wrap. This is all just solid rain in this area. If I go over to what we would typically see, there's rain right there. Okay, so it's just going to be absolutely rain wrapped, and that's one thing we've been saying is it would be in this area headed northwestward, Town and Country, West Chase area, right for the Pinellas County border. So East Lake area. Basically just on the north end of East Lake Woodlands, East Lake, and just east of Lake Tarpon. Get ready, storm is headed towards you. Even if there is not a tornado on the ground, sometimes when you get circulation up within these storms, they can translate down to the ground in terms of very strong winds. So that's what we're looking at right now in terms of really strong winds. And Mike, I don't know if you're seeing anything
if we
different.
can go over to our weather source, we have some of the times here, and that's going to be affecting the West Chase area right about now. And Oldsmar, the Eagles, back over to East Lake and Lake Tarpon. Those areas will be impacted fairly soon, so we've got a pretty good idea where this is. So we're going to give you a really good idea on the times, and we're seeing a pretty good signature here. And let's switch back over here. Yeah, this is the area of rotation that we're seeing, especially on the leading edge of this around Citrus Park, and it's lifting up towards that county line with Pinellas County. So that's the area that we're monitoring. Pretty good rotation in here, so the tornado warning remains in effect for this northwest part of Hillsborough County and this small chunk of the northeast part of Pinellas County, and then the rest of the area still stays under a severe thunderstorm warning. Another thing we haven't really talked about is this storm is producing a tremendous amount of lightning. This is one of our bigger lightning producers this summer. 404 strikes in the last 15 minutes, and a lot of those have been centered on the area that we've been worried about for the possibility of a tornado. So we're watching that very carefully. We're getting some spotter reports in here. Let me look at those. Report from amateur radio of strong winds. Approximately 70 miles per hour. That was reported south of Oldsmar, so I can believe that. That would be the area where we would have had those strong winds reported by amateur radio, so that is certainly a possibility. And thanks for those spotter reports that are coming into our system here live as we can update those. And let me show you where I'm seeing that strong wind right now. Right in this area, Oldsmar, Citrus Park, that's where we're seeing these strong winds, and so those are going to be lifting up across parts of northwest Hillsborough County and back up into the area around Lake Tarpon. And if it holds together long enough, it's going to be lifting up into northeastern portions of Pinellas County. Now, down to the south, we don't want to forget about this because we've got a heavy thunderstorm going on just to the south, and that is back down over central parts of Pinellas County. And there you can see it around Pinellas Park and back over towards on Ulmerton Road. The St. Pete Clearwater Airport is right in here, and then back into the north part of St. Petersburg, kind of on the edge of that severe thunderstorm warning, but that area is also seeing really rough thunderstorms, severe in some cases. Basically from about Ulmerton Road southward and Bryan Dairy northward, and then that extends back across central parts of Pinellas County, and that area under a severe thunderstorm warning. So we are watching that area as well for the possibility of high winds, maybe some street flooding. That could certainly be a problem here. Central Pinellas County and back up into northern Pinellas County with that particular storm, and that area is being monitored as well across parts of central Pinellas County.
Yeah, Mike, what I'm doing is I'm working in the background just trying to determine whether or not we're seeing any more conclusive information on as it heads northwestward, whether or not there's any confirmation. So far, I guess you could take this as a positive news. No confirmation yet. Unfortunately, the bad thing is it's so rain wrapped, I'm not sure we'd get any confirmation unless there's just damage. We're still seeing at the very least very strong winds right there on the border of northwestern Hillsborough and northeastern Pinellas County. So we are warning the correct areas. It's just a matter of, is anything touching the ground? This is where storm spotters come in handy, is right there if you're near that area. And Racetrack Road, what we're labeling right now on the radar on Klystron 9, And again, the East Lake area, it's headed in your direction. This would just be north of the Tampa Road area and north of Curlew, north of Oldsmar. That's where the bulk of the storm is headed. So even though we've got a storm spotter report of very strong winds in Oldsmar, it looks like to me, Mike, the worst of it's actually headed just north of there.
Yep, just north of Oldsmar, back up towards the Citrus Park area, and back over towards...
We're getting indication that, sure enough, seeing the same thing that we are, which is couplet is weakening, however, still strong winds. Tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire at 6:30. So if there is a tornado, it appears to either be lifting into the clouds or it has weakened considerably. And what we mean when we say couplet is that is those winds that we were talking about just here a couple minutes ago, and how winds are racing towards and away from the radar, and it gives us indication of whether or not there's rotation. And when that couplet starts to weaken, then we know that there's not as much of a strong signature of rotation within the clouds. But again, rain-wrapped tornadoes are different anyways, because they'd be hard to tell how strong, how weak. Again, strongest winds, it's got to be northeastern Pinellas coming up on you right now, basically. So that's still the area that we're watching. Tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire in 4 minutes. So it's 6:26. At 6:30, this tornado warning is going to expire, but I would say even if it expires and you're in northeastern Pinellas County, get away from your windows and be indoors, because there still could be easily higher than 60-mile-per-hour winds with this storm. What we notice a lot of times, and Mike, you can add part of this too, is that we notice that when these storms collapse, they're almost like wet microburst. They just protrude 60, 70-mile-per-hour winds out in front of them sometimes, almost like a gust front out in front. And that's the collapsing of the storm, and that could be happening right now also, because it does seem to be pulsing there.
Yeah, most of the time in Florida, these don't last that long, and this one's been up for about a half hour now. The good news is, as Brian just said, the tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire now, so that's the good news. We have some pictures from Hillsborough County as this storm came through. This is near the airport. Tony Rojak taking these pictures, and you can see how heavy that rain was. Again, the first indication, and we haven't had any reports of any damage, the first indication was near the airport of a possible tornado indicated on the radar, and that storm is going to just keep going and could produce high winds all the way up into Pasco County. So that's what we're concerned about right now, will be the storm lifting up across these areas. So Keystone, Lake Fern headed your way. I think the tornado threat has diminished a lot. There's still a high wind threat in this. We're still seeing high wind in here, and so that would be Keystone, Lake Fern, the Eagles, back in through the Brooker Creek Preserve area, lifting up pretty rapidly now. The tornado warning will go away fairly soon, but this is going to be lifting up fairly rapidly across these areas of Hillsborough County into possibly even into Pasco County. So if you're in this area of southwest Pasco County around Trinity and Odessa, you want to watch out for this storm because it's going to come your way, and it's not severe right now into Pasco. There's no warning in Pasco, but we're telling you it's headed your way across that northern tip of Pinellas. So we're still seeing, Brian's brought up the velocities here. This is headed for the East Lake Road area. We're still seeing strong winds in this. Earlier, back down over the airport, there was a couplet where we saw inbound and outbound, tornado warning issued, but now we're seeing more of a high wind event going on with this across parts of northwest Hillsborough County and northern Pinellas County, and this is kind of headed up towards Pasco County right now.
And Mike, another reason I brought that up is because you'll notice on the back end this little bit of green showing up right here. Usually what that means is that's strong winds coming out the bottom of the storm.
Yep.
And so that also is an indication this storm is collapsing, which basically means, again, kind of wet microburst type of situation. Doesn't mean you will get damage, but it basically means that storm is collapsing and the winds are coming back at the radar. That's why you get that little bit of green on the backside. That's a classic signature, by the way. A lot of meteorologists tend not to pick up on that. When you get that little bit of green on the back end of a storm, that actually means now it is collapsing and the winds are racing in every direction away from that storm. So you might actually get stronger winds on the backside towards Citrus Park very briefly coming back at you. Whereas on the front end, East Lake Road area, Lake Tarpon and East Lake area, you might actually get the strong northwest wind. But it does appear to be collapsing as we speak. So that's a good thing. That's good news. And we continue to get information in here, and non-related, we're actually getting information of a fire also in Largo from a lightning strike to a structure down there.
Tremendous amount of lightning in this.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I think I had that popped up. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I had that ready to go because I knew that was one of the other things we wanted to mention is even if you weren't indoors because of the wind and the potential for a tornado, I mean, this lightning is tremendous. We're in that time of year where the lightning can just spit out thousands and thousands of strikes in a matter of just a half an hour. So very dangerous in that northern Pinellas, northwestern Hillsborough area.
We're going to go and we're going to track where we think that the high winds might be from this right now, and we're going to take this out into the future. This is the area that we see the highest winds right now, and that could be in the Lake Fern area in the next few minutes. Follow the times there on your screen and back over towards the Keystone area, and if it holds together long enough, it might get all the way over into parts of Pasco County. So those are the areas that we're watching. And that severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, does continue in effect for northern Pinellas and northern Hillsborough counties until we're right at 6:45. So the tornado warning now is no longer in effect for this area, but the severe thunderstorm warning, for good reason, continues in effect for this area, northern Pinellas, northwest portions of Hillsborough County. And this is the area of high winds that we're seeing, and this is lifting up towards the Pasco County area. So we're watching this area of brighter red in the radar winds, and that's the higher winds that we're seeing right in here, lifting up with this storm as we had a couple of boundaries that collided with this. And there you can see the area that we're watching right in here, lifting up maybe towards Newport Richey. But we still have a rough storm going on back over central and southern parts of central and northern parts of Pinellas County, where that storm is not to be ignored either, because it's definitely in a very highly populated area and it's producing some rough weather. So we're going to stay on the air with you, even though the tornado warning has now expired. We're going to stay on the air with you for a little while longer and monitor this storm as it comes in across northern Pinellas County.
Yeah, technically with that severe thunderstorm warning still in effect, this is definitely translated to a wind threat, a lightning threat, and a potential for localized flooding threat. Basically, those are the three main threats we get from severe storms. Some parts of the country, when you get a severe thunderstorm warning, it can be a hail threat. That's not our case. Tell you the truth, I can go back and look at it in 3D, and I'm just not seeing any indications of hail. Usually our atmosphere is too warm this time of year to produce any large-scale hail. So instead, what we tend to look at is wind and lightning as our main threats, and then of course as a secondary threat, the potential for minor localized flooding. Well, not really minor, but localized flooding, which can obviously occur, especially on these saturated grounds that we've been seeing, Mike.
Yeah, we're tracking this high wind now coming in here, Brian. We're estimating it'll be in Trinity within 17. That may be a little slow. Let me update that with a manual track here and get a little bit better track going than what we were able to see there. But that's headed up into the area. You can see the area around Odessa and Trinity, and that would probably be the leading edge of the higher winds. Trinity, Newport Richey, and up towards Port Richey if it holds together that long. So that's the area that we're monitoring with this storm. You're looking now at the regular radar reflectivity of that leading edge of the storm lifting up across parts of Pasco County, northern Pinellas County, that area, and it's just about to cross over the county line. So if you are in, and reports now, you know, 70-mile-an-hour winds, that's nothing to mess around with, earlier around Oldsmar. So if you're on this leading edge, if you're in Tarpon Springs, if you are in Holiday, Newport Richey, Odessa, Trinity, you're already getting this storm moving up your way very quickly, and that thunderstorm severe coming in towards Pasco County. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have to have another warning on this if it holds together. And then back down into Pinellas County, we're just seeing some torrential rains. And a lot of times in this type of situation, the thing that ends up causing the biggest problem in the end is the flooding. And so we're seeing torrential rains over areas that have already gotten some very heavy rainfall. And even we've had a lightning strike and a house hit by lightning and caught on fire in Largo. So those are the concerns that we have, multiple concerns with this severe thunderstorm. It's really the only game in town right now for our rest of our counties. Thank you for holding holding in here with us, but we want to assure you that there's nothing going on in any of the rest of our counties of any concern. Manatee County just had a couple of showers in Citrus County. The only storm really was the late storm. Hillsborough County didn't see storms most of the day. It got hotter there. We had storms in all the rest of our counties, and then we had a couple of boundaries come together right over downtown Tampa about an hour and a half ago, and now this has just kind of gone into one big severe thunderstorm lifting up across Pinellas, Hillsborough counties, and now it's headed for Pasco County as it lifts up across this area. So we'll take this leading edge out here. Let me bring it up to the current frame, and this is the edge I'm concerned about. It's moving at about 20 miles an hour, and so that's going to bring it into Odessa, Keystone, 4 to 8 minutes. Trinity, 10 to 15 minutes. Seven Springs, maybe 20 minutes if it holds together that long. So that would be the leading edge that we're watching as it comes up across into Pasco County. Brian's looking at it in 3D. Brian?
Yeah, Mike, what we're doing is we're now looking at this storm in 3D. Something that I was just mentioning I really wanted to point out on air is this is not a hail threat, but definitely wind to heavy rain and lightning threat. Looking at this storm in 3D, this is pretty neat. You can actually see how high up it goes. It goes well up above 50,000 feet. It looks like it's about a 60,000 foot tall thunderstorm. This would be looking from the Gulf back into the storm. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around the back side, and I've deliberately sliced down through the half of the storm, and I'm going to look up inside this storm, and you will notice there is no red inside. Okay, if what I've done is I put red bullseyes in here if there is ever hail. In other words, you would see a big ball or a big bullseye of the deep purple reddish color. Whenever that doesn't show up, we know here at Bay News 9 there's no hail inside this storm. So this is not a hail maker, this is definitely just a wind maker. And again, I'm going to come around back on the front side, and you can see there how it is coming out. And I mean, these are huge, towering, what we would call cumulonimbus clouds, basically coming right out towards the Gulf and moving in a west-northwestward manner. So that's what we're looking at this point in time, is basically just a massive storm headed northwestward. And again, that severe thunderstorm warning, Mike, still in effect for about another 8 minutes, 7 minutes, something in that range. So basically the 6:45 time frame is what we're looking at. And we're getting some new messages in.
Yep, let's look at this storm lifting up while you're looking at the data that's coming in, Brian. Let's look at this. Almost into Pasco County right now. Still rough weather going on in Pinellas County and Hillsborough County, and lifting up. I'll tell you what we'll do while we have the opportunity here. Let me go back and do a really long loop of this, and you can see how the day has progressed with these storms. They were fairly insignificant for much of the day. The problem is Hillsborough County didn't see any storms. There were a lot of boundaries around, and then kaboom, everything right up over Hillsborough. Watch how quiet it is in Hillsborough County. And then the storms don't look like all that much. They really get together, and that storm was the one that produced a very strong radar indication near the airport of a possible tornado. Now that is all gone. Usually you get about a 10-15 minute on one of these Florida radar circulations. You might have a tornado in there, you might not. You don't want to take any chances on that. And now everything begins to wind down, and it turns into oftentimes a high wind event, and that's pretty much what we have right now coming up on this. So this is certainly a severe thunderstorm, and certainly a warning still in effect here across this area, but it's now lifting. The leading edge is what we're most concerned about, and it's beginning to lift up towards Pasco County. So we have the ability here to track this, and we want to do that as it heads in. Whoops, let me try it again. As it heads in across Pasco County, and we can track this leading edge. It's moving at about 20 miles an hour, get that right. And so that would be affecting the Booker Creek Preserve, Trinity, Seven Springs, Holiday, Elfers, those areas on that leading edge, not the rest of the rain that's back to the south, but that's the leading edge. And that's the areas we're concerned about lifting up into Pasco County. But you, as of right now, no warning for Pasco County. And the severe thunderstorm warning continues from Pinellas Park, roughly from about Ulmerton Road, northward back up towards Tarpon Springs, and still kind of winding down here, even a pocket of heavy rain showing up back over downtown Tampa. And so it isn't quite done there in parts of Hillsborough County at all. But across the rest of our area, no storm threats, no problems going on in these areas. The only storm that is severe is sitting over Pinellas and Hillsborough counties right now.
Mike, we've got some video coming in to us from Seminole. This is a good example of what we're dealing with in terms of flooding rains. We were talking earlier about the main threats with a severe thunderstorm warning being wind and heavy rain and lightning. This is the kind of thing that would be coming into the area. So with any of these storms, we've had such a good summer rainy season, well, good depending on how you look at it, saturated grounds, that basically you're going to get a lot of flooded roadways, a lot of flooded ditches. That's what we mean when we say localized flooding. Luckily, it doesn't look too bad at that particular point, but I would suspect that it's gotten worse in some areas along Tampa Road and some of those areas that probably picked up heavier rain in a shorter amount of time. And that's just it. It's not that the totals can be that great, you know, maybe only 2 to 3 inches of rain, but it's that it comes down so fast. In a good 20, 30 minutes, you get the 2 to 3 inches of rain, and it just can't run off into the drainage ditches.
One piece of good news, a spotter in Clearwater reports no flooding at this time, so that's good.
That's
Clearwater hasn't had as much rain, so it may be running off a little bit better there.
While you're doing that, you go ahead and get that set up. I'm going to go ahead and put a line of where we think those potential winds are headed for.
I'm just seeing indications here of a little bit of an overhang right in here, and I think this storm is going to keep going into Pasco. We're getting lightning strikes. Well, there's one coming in live, well out ahead of the rainfall, and I think there's a potential that this is going to keep going for a while into Pasco County. So concerned about the high winds in Odessa and Trinity and back over towards Newport Richey perhaps. But we're seeing lightning strikes well out ahead, and it just looks like there's a possibility that this is going to keep going for a while here into Pasco County. The southern part of this is just a rainmaker from Clearwater to Pinellas Park and then even back all the way over to downtown Tampa.
And the strongest winds just west of the Odessa area that you were just referring to, it does look like the storm's kind of protruding out to the northeast, but the strongest winds appear to be shoving its way off to the west-northwest. So what I've done is I put a storm track on it for you. Newport Richey, get ready. Some very strong winds headed into your area. Also the Holiday area, Anclote area, Elfers area, all that region along the Highway 19 corridor, which is very heavily populated. We know that storm is headed right up into your area. The good news is no more tornado threat, but there still is a wind threat. Technically, the severe thunderstorm warning is going to expire in about 5 minutes, but these severe thunderstorms, they don't understand boundaries and time limits, so it does appear as though this storm's just going to continue protruding northwestward and probably send its strong winds right out into the Gulf. Now, also wanted to mention, if you have gotten any pictures in, any video, anything like that, please send them in to us so we can get any confirmation of any damage, any flooding waters, anything like that. But again, as we stand right now, severe thunderstorm warning is going to be expiring in about 3 minutes, but the strong winds still headed into southwestern Pasco County.
Right. The tornado warning expired at 6:30. Severe thunderstorm warning about to expire. No reports of any additional warnings right now. We're watching it very carefully, but we have some video from some of the lightning that we've seen today. This is at Indian Rocks Beach. Certainly this area of Pinellas County has been hard hit by a number of storms today, and that the lightning, if you're going to take pictures of it, you got to be very careful because that can be the most dangerous aspects of these storms. And that is in Pinellas County, where we have had some just incredible amounts of cloud to ground lightning, and we're watching that on our lightning detector right there. And you can see how that lightning extends back out into Pasco County as well, over to Hillsborough, northern Pinellas County. Just a tremendous amount of cloud to ground lightning with this storm.
Mike, we were just talking about how this storm was headed for the Trinity, Odessa, Newport Richey area. I think we've gotten in a picture of, yeah, there you go. That's a classic
leading edge,
yeah, that's a classic leading edge. You can call it a lot of things. You can call it a shelf cloud, a roll cloud. It doesn't really matter. The point is that is what you see when a very strong storm is headed in your direction, and you basically are looking at strong winds pushing the front leading edge of the storm towards you. So great picture sent in, and that was from the Trinity area, which, by the way, you're showing right now, Mike, on the air. You can see that storm is headed through that area as we speak.
Yep, that is in Trinity. That's probably the leading edge that people are seeing, and that's headed up towards Trinity, Seven Springs, 5 to 10 minutes or so. Elfers, Newport Richey, may not even take 20 minutes to get to Newport Richey. Port Richey, that area being affected, and so that is this leading edge. It's sort of lifting up through here. So once again, the warnings for most of this have expired. The tornado warning that was issued at the top of the hour has been allowed to expire at 6:30, and now the severe thunderstorm warning on this is being allowed to expire. No reports of any additional warnings right now. So we'll keep you posted on this. We'll be back with another update at 6:49 with our next weather on the nines, and we'll have another update on these storms. So stay with us right here on Bay News 9.
Kleister on 9 Travel Forecast is brought to you by the hospitals of HCA West Florida with ER wait times via text messaging. Text ER to the number 23000. Bay News 9's news is brought.
The movie tells the whole story.
This is the trailer for Blackfish, a documentary that deals with the death of SeaWorld trainer Don Brancho in 2010.
Orange County Sheriff's Office.
We need FO to respond for a dead person at SeaWorld. A whale has eaten one of the trainers.
The death led to OSHA hearings and changes at the park, keeping trainers out of the water with all whales, the way they always did with the park's largest killer whale, Tilikum. But the filmmaker also looks at the practice of capturing wild orcas and what she calls misinformation given to park guests for generations.
They tend to live a lot longer in this environment because they have all the veterinary care.
And of course, that's false.
The movie will debut at the Enzian in Maitland Friday.
Outside of the obvious considerations, SeaWorld is a friend. Local community business, does great things for animals in general. This was really a film that we right away knew that it was something that Enzian needed to run.
SeaWorld released this statement about the film. Say Blackfish is billed as a documentary, but instead of a fair and balanced treatment of a complex subject, the film is inaccurate and misleading, and regrettably exploits a tragedy that remains a source of deep pain for Don Brancho's family, friends, and colleagues.
This particular movie was at Sundance. It's been hailed by critics. So in many ways, the credentials of the film and the filmmaker are solid. The issue of the content, it's really up to the viewer to come and decide, and it's our responsibility to make sure that you get a shot at seeing it.
Dave DeMarco, Bay News 9.
Rays making sure they are armed for the stretch run. Good evening, I'm Drew Felios from Bright House Sports Network with your Toyota Sports Minute. Kyle Farnsworth looks like he's on his way out with the Rays. The veteran reliever designated for assignment today. Farnsworth had a strong first season for the Rays in 2011, but then was injured last season and has struggled with consistency since. Rays now have 10 days to trade him, cut him, or pass him through waivers. This paves the way for Josh Lukey, another right-hander who was called up from Durham late Thursday night. Is it fair for A-Rod to play for the Yankees while he awaits his appeal? Evan Longoria tells Sports Illustrated, no way. The Rays star said, quote, I don't think it's fair for other teams because I'm in the American League East. Whether he's 100% or not, he can affect the game in a positive way, end quote. Longoria added, to fix the PED scandals, the risk must outweigh the reward. Rays in LA facing the Dodgers tonight. What a weekend it was last weekend in Canton as Warren Sapp became the second Tampa Bay Buccaneer to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. Our Rock Riley was there every step of the way. We'll bring it to you Monday, 6:30 p.m. Rock in Canton here on Bright House Sports Network.
Now, more news from your community with Bay News 9's county-by-county coverage.
We're starting now in Polk County. A Lakeland firefighter is getting some national attention. Firehouse Magazine awarded Taylor Riley its annual Heroism and Community Service honor. Riley was the only pick from our state. He was honored for rescuing a boy from a burning building last December. All right, in Citrus County, the Crystal River Mall is losing its oldest tenant, Belk's Department Store. Employees received the news today, according to our partners at the Chronicle. The store is expected to close in January. By the way, JCPenney is closing this weekend. Now in Pinellas County, firefighters